Religious persecution is tied to political repression and weakening institutions in Nigeria. Example, the detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a clear example. In 2022, Nigeria's Court of Appeal struck down the charges against him and ordered his release. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention has also called for his unconditional release. Yet he remains in solitary confinement, in deteriorating health, and recently had to represent himself in court. Nigeria has signaled that the law is optional and targeting Christians is fair game. Just hours ago this morning, despite the pleas and cries of the Nigerian people and many Nigerian lawmakers, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was convicted on all charges.
Greetings, fellow Nigerians. Nnamdi Kanu has just been sentenced to life in prison, while an Iswap commander behind one of the deadliest attacks in Kano walks away with 20 years. But here is the real question. Why are these two judgments sparking outrage across Nigeria? Is this justice or a troubling sign of selective accountability? Stay with me because what you are about to hear will challenge everything you think you know about Nigeria's justice system. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like our video, and share our video. See you.
Let's begin What's Trending by focusing on reactions trailing the life imprisonment sentence handed to the leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, after he was convicted of terrorism by a federal high court in Abuja on Thursday. During the sentencing, Justice James Omotosho held that the prosecution successfully established every allegation brought forward, noting that Kanu offered no credible defense and deliberately refused to challenge the evidence presented. He described the IPOB leader as an international terrorist who pursued his agitation through brutal force and terrorism, causing the bloodshed of innocent citizens. The federal government's prosecutor had requested the death penalty, but the judge stated that he opted for life imprisonment to show mercy. The judge ordered that Kanu be placed in protective custody away from Kuje prison due to his unruly behavior during trial and banned him from using any electronic devices without supervision from the Office of the National Security Advisor.
Is that why you brought the cameras? Is that why you brought them today? Please. You didn't bring it before, you brought it today? Please. Show me where it says you can try me on a repeat law. Show me. Please. Show me where it says you can try me on a repeat law. I said, show me. Show me. Show me. No, leave it. Leave it. Leave it. I said, leave it. It's a court of law. I'm under trial. I'm under trial. I have to speak. What I did. I'm very don't talk. I'm warning you, don't talk. I'm warning you, don't talk. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I said, don't touch me. Mad people. You don't know law. Show me the law. Show me the law. Show me the law. You don't know law. They are removing you. You are writing rubbish. God will punish you. Now and forever. Let it be on record. Every judgment given in this court is rubbish. Ask him where is the law. Ask him where is the law. Where is the law?
Nnamdi Kanu was given a 7-count terrorism charge and sentenced to life imprisonment for counts 1, 4, 5, and 6 of the 7-count charge, while he received 20 years and 5 years on counts 3 and 7, respectively, all to run concurrently. The court described Kanu as unsuitable to remain in the company of sane minds. I'll take some reactions, Ayo, before I come to you. This person wrote on X characteristics. The recent judgment against Nnamdi Kanu has once again reopened a long-standing debate in Nigeria. Why does the Nigerian state seem to treat terrorism, armed agitation, and violent extremism differently, depending on the region from which they emerge? Terrorism should never be celebrated or defended in any form, and anyone who has participated in violent acts against the Nigerian state or its citizens must face the law. However, the unevenness in the application of justice is becoming too glaring to ignore. Over the years, Nigeria has witnessed situations where the government, according to numerous public reports, entered negotiations with armed groups and even reintegrated some individuals back into society, particularly in the northern region. It is disheartening to observe what appears to many Nigerians as sectional approaches to justice. The common saying, what is good for the goose is good for the gander, does not always seem to play out evenly. We may now be witnessing what can be best described as regional and sectarian justice and injustice. Meanwhile, one of the leaders of the Islamic State West Africa province, Husani Ismaila, has been convicted of terrorism offenses and sentenced to 20 years imprisonment by a federal high court in Abuja. Justice Emeka Nwite pronounced the sentence on Tuesday after Ismaila, also known as Mai Tangaran, pleaded guilty to a 4-count terrorism charge brought by the Department of State Services. The prosecution said Ismaila coordinated the 2012 attacks on multiple police facilities in Kano State, in which many were injured following his arrest. In August 2017, the trial suffered delays before the DSS called 5 witnesses. Ismaila changed his plea to guilty after the 5th witness testified. Well, you see this? His 20-year sentence will run concurrently from his 2017 arrest date. The judge also ordered Ismaila must undergo rehabilitation and de-radicalization before being reintegrated into the society. And you see why I was able to juxtapose that tweet with this actual story, because this is the agitation from a lot of people, especially also in the Southeast. And, many people who, rightly feel like this was injustice meted on Nnamdi Kanu.
Absolutely. And all Nigerians, despite irrespective of region, have to have a voice. And all voices must be listened to, must be heard. I say this because earlier on I'd said that, that what a number of people have said in some quarters, including the former minority leader of the Senate, Senator Ainaya Abaribe, is that it seems as if it was like predetermined. It was an action against the region of the Southeast, that it was selective justice in some quarters. And when you hear cases like this terrorist who was convicted, masterminding acts of terrorism, who was given 20 years, you can then understand why people are saying that. I had to call Mr. Okpara to order earlier on during the interview, because I also don't feel that the ethnic narrative is good for national unity and to not further incite violence or aggression in certain parts. What we're trying to push is the spirit of national unity. But in doing so, part of that is to ensure that there's fairness and justice indeed across all levels, across boards, and there mustn't be a perception that people are treated differently based on which region they belong to. Now, names like the situation that happened with Sunday Igboho is coming up again. People are talking about terrorists from the north who are given 5-year sentences, and people who actually perpetrated large-scale acts of terrorism, giving kids gloves. In some parts, we even saw them being, given amnesty. We talk about rehabilitation, de-radicalization, and you ask, why is the same treatment or suggestion or solution not given to what is happening to Nnamdi Kanu and the Southeast? And so these are the questions. I don't agree with giving amnesty and, asking terrorists. I believe that terrorists should face the full wrath of the law across board. That's what I believe. And a number of people have called for that. You don't, and we've seen that it doesn't work in the northeast. And so I believe that this is a very delicate matter. It has a political slant to it. It is very sensitive, and that's why even when we speak on this table, we're careful, because we have to ensure that above all the, yes, there's the legal perspective, there's the political and personal perspective, but there's also the spirit of peace and unity in Nigeria, so that we don't further divide along ethnic lines based on what is seen as selective justice.